Good evening, Bahamas. Coming up tonight on our news.
The PLP's convention set for January 24th to the 26th. That story coming up.
Leader of the official opposition, Loretta Butler Turner, denies any suggestion that she would join the PLP. That story straight ahead.
The Minister of Labor is responding to criticism surrounding the VAT exemption for CCA. That story is coming up straight ahead.
A man on bail murdered Wednesday evening. A young Bahamian featured on the soundtrack of an award-winning film. Welcome to our news, and thanks for joining us. I'm Christina McNeil. Topping news tonight. In 2 weeks, the Progressive Liberal Party will rally its troops and head into convention, its first since 2009. Among the list of things on the party's agenda for the convention, the election of leader. Kyle Joaquin was at PLP headquarters for the party's announcement today. Here's his report.
Come January 24th, PLP supporters will flock to the Melia Hotel for the party's national convention. After being delayed numerous times, the party will have that opportunity to fire up its base and get supporters ready to hit the polls in just a matter of months. PLP Convention Chair Shane Gibson said this will be the time for the party to put on full display all of the Christie administration's victories over the past 4.5 years. Among the list, Bahamar.
By May of this year, Bahamar will be open. And will be employing thousands of Bahamians.
The three-day convention should be an interesting one as the party's Fort Charlotte candidate Alfred Sears is set to go head-to-head with longtime PLP leader Perry Christie. Despite Sears being what some may consider to be the dark horse, Gibson said the party will accept whatever the outcome.
We have never, ever challenged trust and transparency and accountability in any election. We've always accepted the results. And that is why we continue to have young, dynamic, visionary, experienced individuals continue to come and step forward to run in the party.
Sears recently told our news that several people, including sitting MPs, have already offered to be his running mate and challenged the Deputy Prime Minister for his post. Gibson said in just a matter of days, everyone should know who's willing to challenge any of the positions in the party. Now, when it comes to spending, Gibson says the party will give a full account of the cost after the convention.
We will be able to give you, the delegates and the members of the party, a full accounting of every dollar that is spent as soon as we spend it.
Now, as for when the party will reveal the rest of its candidates.
The last meeting of the National General Council will be held on the 19th of this month. And it is at that meeting that we expect to complete the ratification for all candidates in the next general election.
Again, Gibson says whatever the outcome of the PLP's leadership race during the convention, the party will be willing to accept it. Reporting from PLP headquarters for our news, I'm Kyle Joaquin.
Well, leader of the opposition, Loretta Butler Turner, is shooting down claims that she would consider joining the Progressive Liberal Party. Her comments come in response to Prime Minister Perry Christie's statements on Majority Rule Day when he claimed Butler Turner is on the wrong side politically. Today, Jasmine Brown spoke with the opposition leader. Jasmine?
Christina Butler Turner says if she was ever offered the opportunity to join the Progressive Liberal Party, she would say thanks but no thanks, as she cannot join a political organization she believes has done so little for the Bahamian people.
Without question, let me state emphatically that I have no intention of joining the PLP. The PLP, in my estimation, clearly has not delivered on the mandate that they promised the Bahamian people.
While speaking at the Southern Recreation Grounds following the march on Tuesday, Christie spoke of Butler Turner, saying he had a recent conversation with the opposition leader and told her that she is on the wrong side, considering many of her relatives have been supporters of the PLP. Butler Turner acknowledged that conversation happened and has said in the days following the PM's comments, many have asked if it would be a possibility, considering she is no longer the F&M's candidate for Long Island.
I found it amusing and I guess very uplifting to know that he understands the impact that the Butler family has had on the political landscape of the Bahamas. But I think what was lost on the Prime Minister and maybe the wider public is this. Sir Milo obviously was a man that did not remain satisfied with the status quo. The bigger picture is that my grandfather was not a conformist. He was not satisfied to accept the status quo. You know, interestingly enough, many people may not know this, growing up in my grandfather's shadows, I lived very closely with him, and his favorite song outside of his church hymns was "Don't Fence Me In."
Butler Turner says it's with that in mind that she cannot join the PLP, as she believes both the PLP and even the F&M are all about maintaining the status quo.
I will remain that voice, that advocate, that person that is going to go against what we have today. Essentially, that's the PLP, and to a lesser extent now, that's also the Free National Movement. We need a change. People are moving away from the status quo because the status quo has failed the Bahamian people.
Now, Butler Turner says she will not be distracted as she moves ahead, planning her own political future. Reporting for our news, I'm Jasmine Brown. Back to you, Christina.
Thanks, Jasmine. In other news, the Minister of Labor today defending government's decision to provide value-added tax exemptions to the multi-billion-dollar Baha Mar resort. Giorgio Bain tells us more.
Minister of Labor Shane Gibson says any wannabe politician who is condemning concessions made by the Progressive Liberal Party to CCA needs to pick up a history book and see that those type of concessions are nothing new. Gibson now joins Attorney General Allison Maynard Gibson and Minister of Education Jerome Fitzgerald in defending the concession. Gibson says the criticism is just another attempt for want-to-be politicians to make themselves look good.
Government's giving concession is nothing new. It happened to with every single major developer who comes into the country, every Bahamian who is involved in any major development, and they all ask for concession. Atlanta's got concessions on phase 1, 2, 3, and if they had a fourth one, they got in that as well. The original Baha Mar agreement had concessions.
Gibson pointed out concessions made under the Free National Movement in their term in office between 2007 and 2012, and dared any party leader or political hopeful to make a public announcement that if they were in power, they will not provide concessions to anyone.
Unfortunately for us now, we're going through some tough times. We saw where Baha Mar not opening caused some other rippling effects in the economy. And so regardless of what they say, if they were there, knowing how weak they are, they would probably have given more than we gave.
Gibson added that when taxes are removed from the backs of Bahamians, the concessions seem to go unnoticed, even though the PLP, according to Gibson, has been making concessions for Bahamians for years.
Look at the Small Business Incentive Act, right? Where the persons who bring in raw material, they don't pay duty, customs duty and VAT right now. That's money that should be in the Treasury. But we gave that concession to farmers.
Gibson said now that we are entering the silly season, this kind of criticism will be reoccurring.
We give concessions all the time. And so for them to try and mislead the public and say that we're giving something or we are breaking some new ground, we're in the political seasons, I guess you'll hear a lot of that.
Reporting for our news, I'm Giorgio Bain.
In other news, a man who was being electronically monitored while out on bail was gunned down in the Kemp Road area Wednesday evening. Now police need your help in solving the fatal shooting. Family members and friends had to be restrained just beyond the police crime scene tape as the victim's body was secured and placed into the waiting hearse. Chief Superintendent Ken Strawn says police responded to reports of gunfire in the area of Kingston and Denver Streets off Kemp Road around 6:40 p.m. When they arrived on scene, they discovered the victim's body in the street with gunshot wounds. He was pronounced dead at the scene. Strawn says until illegal firearms are taken off the streets, gun violence in the country will continue.
This latest homicide is troubling to this nation as we continue to sound the cry for persons to turn in the guns. Every gun that is out there, that is allowed to be out there, will continue to exact this kind of activities on the life of some unsuspected individuals.
The victim's identity has not been released yet, but police confirmed that he was on bail for a serious offense. Strawn says it is important that Bahamians seek non-violent ways to work out disputes.
There's too much aggression against the other person, which is leading to persons being injured, and even to the point at which we see here tonight.
Police ask anyone with information on this or any other crime to contact them at 911, 919, or Crime Stoppers at 328-TIPS. Still to come on our news, police launch a manhunt for murder and armed robbery suspects. We'll tell you how many cases the Attorney General believes courts should be hearing per year. And a Bahamian artist's music is featured on an award-winning film. That's coming up.